Okay, this video is about sacred geometry. And sacred geometry kind of was confusing to us for a while. So, sacred geometry, the flower of life is the grid. It's you. It's your life. And so when you're working with blocked chakras, you're basically creating the grid in your limited viewpoints. But when you have a free flowing system, then you're able to create all possibilities in the field and have access to them. So when your chakra system is blocked, you only have access to what is free flowing as far as energy. So if you're blocked in your root chakra and you have you're going to be blocked with security issues. So if you're having money issues, you probably have a blocked chakra and a blocked root chakra. And so what would happen is all of those possibilities in the field that would create security are blocked, and you only have access to what you can be open to. So I'm going to try to explain this. I haven't figured out exactly how to show you on this, but say this is, I'm going to show you this. So this is the flower of life, and basically each one of these petals is an experience. So we're going to use the tree of life, or there's multiple names, and I can't remember all the names for this sacred geometry shape, but it's the tree of life. So there's two different ways we're going to look at this. The first way is think of it as you. So say you've got you, and then your divine union, and then you have like your mom and your dad and your child. And then you kind of branch out from all these different experiences. So that's one way you can look at the tree of life. The other way that you can look at this is dimensions. So say this is you, your starting point, and this is your higher self. And you're trying to figure out how to navigate through all these different dimensions to get to your higher self. And so each one of these dimensions is going to create little flowers of life that go out from this experience. This is Metatron's cube, also known as the merkaba, and this also does the same thing. So when your chakras are spinning correctly, they're spinning in a counterclockwise motion. And when they're spinning, when they're blocked, they go into a clockwise motion. So your light body spins, and basically like it's spinning two different directions. So like the top half is, I can't remember which one's male or female, but like you have a male and a female, it's yin yang. You're trying to create this divine union. They spin together. And I might have it wrong that one spins, I think they rotate. When they start spinning together, I think they're counter rotating and moving, creating a ton of energy, because it's the polarity, it's the positive, the negative. You become the Megatron or the Tokamak. I mean, you become the energy field. You become the vortex, the everything. I mean, you're basically energizing. You become the magnetic poles of the energy exchange and going back and forth. So all of your chakra points are a point on Metatron's cube, and this can lay over the sacred geometry. And basically say you had a chakra right here that was blocked. When you lay this over, I wish I had transparencies, but if you were to lay this over this, like you just wouldn't have access to these different flower petals on the flower of life when they're blocked. So it's just so important that our energy centers are free flowing. And the only way that you can have a unblocked chakra system is to continually do work on yourself. I mean, there's moments where I can tell that I'm not in my highest and best, and it will just be for a moment, like with one decision. And then I have to call in my guides, and I have to help them. I ask them to help me get to highest and best, and I'll either listen to a frequency for a minute, or I will start humming, or I'll start doing some mantras or mudras or whatever. And then when I know I'm not at highest and best now, I try to stop everything that I'm doing because I'm usually working from highest and best on a regular basis. But in the beginning, when you just have the flower of life, like say you're starting right here, and let's just use this as an example of making a decision. Okay, so say you're like, I want to get a new job. So this is you, this is said new job. And here's all of these different possibilities, these different connection points that you can make. And then each one of your decisions can go into a new petal. So like your decisions might take you all the way around the flower of life. And usually when we're unbalanced, that's what's happening, is we're just circling around this flower of life, just bumbling around trying to figure out how do we get to here. Whereas we can just go this way when we can see all of this and it's open and activated. And then we just have, a few decisions to get to here. But when we're blocked and we're confused, we're just sitting here like touching all these different points, going, oh my gosh, I really want that new job, but I just can't figure out a way to get to it. So you just kind of keep swirling around the flower of life and into the quantum sea of possibilities. So, where was I going with this? It's really important. Okay, so let's talk about people in your life, because this is where all of this kind of came to me. So you activate your kundalini, you're going to activate your light body, and then you're going to start having all of these really wild experiences. And there's going to come a point where I hope that we all get to this point where you will see that you create every single piece of this flower of life. Oh, this is what I was going to talk to you about, fractals. So, let's forget what we were talking about with the job center. So this is you. This is your higher self. These are all the different multidimensional yous. So this is Jenna, this is Jenna, this is Jenna, 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 Jenna. All of these Jennas are existing in this now with all these different possibilities. And so me, I'm born, and then I fractal off and I have a sister, and I have another fractal of me that's my mom, and then I have another fractal of me that's my dad, and then I have my other sisters, and then they all create these little parts of my flower of life. And all of these people we've made these soul contracts with to come into this life and have these shared experiences with us. And so, and they are all fractals of us, and we are fractals of them. So they're going to feel like us. They're parts of us that either are healing us or hitting our trauma or coming with some kind of a lesson, but they all are interconnected to teach us things. And so, basically, there's a Jenna in this dimension that has a sister, a mother, a dad, and all of these different experiences, but they're working from a different dimension. And so when you're moving through the different dimensions, dimensions are movement. So when you are 1D, you can only go one direction. When you're 2D, you can go two directions, 1, 2. When you're 3D, like we are, we can go height, length, and we can go up. And then 4D, we can move a different way. And then, so imagine like 4D, we're going to be able to go back in time and then change things in time there. And then say you're in 5D and you can go forward in time and back in time, and you can affect both of those experiences to change all of the outcomes. And so basically every decision that we make impacts the whole entire fractal system on the flower of life in the quantum field. So in this now, because all you have is now, and remember, light is information, And the crazy thing is light doesn't travel. Like, it doesn't travel. It just recreates in each new now. So basically imagine all of this like falling apart, and you're basically reconstructing it in every single now moment, by holding on to memories, holding on to your identity, your storylines. And so we kind of anchor ourselves into these dimensional experiences when we are so rigidly anchored into our knowingness. And so we might be interacting with these different fractals that are from these higher dimensions that are like, hey, I'm from 10th dimension and I'm coming down to 3D Jenna or 4D Jenna, and I'm trying to pull you up and give you this information so that you can get up here, because we can see what you need to do to get to your highest and best, so that you can just take this faster path to get to higher self. But sometimes we're scared by this, because the way that fractal is communicating with us is through something that's hitting our trauma from another fractal, or a trigger, or a storyline that we're holding on to, or a identity, like, oh, we've identified ourselves within this dimension, but in order for us to get to this place, we have to let go of those things that are anchoring us into this space, because this space doesn't move the same way as this space. And this space, we might not have a body the way that we have a body here. We might not have the same life or abundance or job or anything. It might be completely different. And us anchoring into this space doesn't allow us to see all the magic that exists in this space right here. However, when we go back to the merkaba, and you have this laid over the flower of life, I guess it's this one that I want to show right here. So say you have the merkaba and you're fully activated, you're able to kind of hover over the whole quantum field and see all of the different possibilities. You might not be able to see all the dimensions that are happening on this one, but we can see the clear path to getting to highest and best. And we just don't have to do as much work, because we're touching all these different flower points on our flower of life, and they're all activated and they're working together harmoniously, because everything is sound, everything is vibration. So as we're vibrating this light and this frequency and our knowingness across the field, it's just sending these reverberations around that are allowing us to have a different experience through the quantum field, and have so much more possibilities, so that we can create a life that's beautiful and multidimensional, that looks something like this, rather than being stuck in a life where we are only able to have these petals available as our access point, because that's where we're working from. And then all of this right here is blocked off to us. So it's just really, really important that we are open in our chakra system, that we work on doing our trauma work. We work on activating our kundalini energy, because it really turns us into this powerhouse. And let me have one more image here. And then we kind of become this vortex where we're drawing in everything that we want, because we're just kind of centered and still, and we don't really have to do that much work, because we've got everything kind of coming to us. And there will become a point where, once we've got everything flowing source, we can see that unlimited tap of knowledge and information and abundance and love and limitlessness that source is continuously trying to give us. And the only person that's blocking it is us. Which is, it's kind of, that's the divine comedy, is that we're the ones that are in our way. So I don't know if this is a succinct thought, but the fractal thing I've been trying to figure out, and I would say that I will explain an experience that's happening with me in the quantum field, which is really, really kind of cool. But so let's say this is me right here. I'm here. And then I'm trying to go here. Excuse me. And so I end up activating all this stuff through whatever chakras I had available to me. And I end up having this massive connection point with an activator. So it could be a person, a situation, or something. And then from there, all these different experiences happen. And so what becomes available is how I respond to it emotionally. And so sometimes if I'm like, oh, that's not good, maybe I've interacted with it and it takes me way back down to here. But I'm still trying to get to here. But because of all my choices that I made, I end up here. And so I'm like, wait a second, I'm not in a good space. So then I have to reassess and go, okay, how am I going to go through here? But so let's say all of this is blocked for me. So then I only have the path that's available. So I have to start making decisions to get all the way back up here. Or I can focus on activating this and then I can go this way. Or I can have another activation point with somebody or something else that gets me, I make all these different decisions, like these little spiral dances to get to here, to have an experience. And then I can make decisions from there and spiral through the flower of life to get to here. Or I can spiral through here. I mean, there's just so many possibilities. And the key is having the open chakra system so that all these different possibilities can unfold and unveil to you. And then understanding that each one of these is also a fractal. So these could be different people. And we are all one. So these are all different expressions of you. And maybe you're meeting the right expressions, but you're not able to see that they're the right expressions that get you through here because you're reaching those expressions from a place of fear or confusion or a blocked heart center or a blocked throat chakra, and so you're not speaking your truth or you're not able to love unconditionally. And all of those things can create these really complex problems. And then imagine, like, say you have a couple of chakras that are open, but then you have most of your chakra centers that are blocked. You're only going to be able to make decisions that make sense for those two that are free flowing or have access to that information. So it really is this little quantum dance with everything that you're doing. And really what you're trying to do is use this is the fastest way to get to everything because it creates the vortex. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to go through this tree of life where you're really trying to get to here, but you're required to have all these different experiences and go through these different dimensional experiences. And if we can be open to them and not impart our fear or our lack of understanding, we might be able to gain access to more information or multidimensional experiences or things that make our lives better if we can just observe. So this is where it's so important to just observe and not absorb and try to place understanding on anything, because when you're here and you've had something from here or here or here communicate with you, you're coming from this understanding. But realize that thing here, it moves like, what are we? I think this creates 10 dimensions. It moves 7 different directions differently that you don't understand. So it's trying to tell you, hey, come this way. And you're like, but I can't go that way. I only know 3 directions to move, and that's here, here, and here. And it's trying to pull you this way, but you're preventing it from letting it pull you forward and through into this greatness, because you're stuck in trying to understand how do you move from here when you only know how to move these 3 different ways. And this is where it's so important that we just surrender and trust and allow Source to let us move through things, because if we can surrender and just give in, Source will pull us to that. And we won't maybe understand how it happens, but if we allow it to happen, it can unleash the most magical gifts possible. So that's it for today. I hope that this was helpful. I know it's a lot of information. And if you have any questions, I don't understand it all, but I do want to share my knowingness, because this is decades of knowingness put together. I mean, I've known a lot about chakras for a really long time, but I couldn't figure out how it all fit into the sacred geometry. And once we share our knowingness, what it does is it puts access to the knowingness into the quantum field for everybody else, and it sparks the collective consciousness. And so as we become more Source linked in, we just have more access to it. And what it's doing also is it's creating all of those connection points, right? So me being here, who's trying to get to here, is sharing all of this information with all these different fractals so that I can spiral to this space, because I'm activating all these different fractals in the knowingness, and then you're activating your fractals. And then it's helping all of us get to the same place. So this is why it's so important that we share. This is why we do the work, because us doing the work helps the collective do the work and get to where we're trying to go, which we're all trying to get to highest and best for all of us, because we all have access to it. We all have access to unlimited love and abundance and happiness and bliss and joy and ecstasy. I mean, it's there waiting for us to allow it in, and we just have to do the work to maneuver through the quantum field to get there. So thank you so much. I love you. I hope you're having a really beautiful day, and I hope this was helpful. Thanks. Bye.